This time, I would like to call the regular meeting to order. Clerk of the Board, please call the roll.
Arencibia,
Present.
Emerald. Here. Lopez.
Here.
Lopez Veda. Here. Solis.
Present.
Aguirre.
Here.
This is the point of the agenda where members of the public may address the board on matters posted for the special meeting and in accordance with Government Code Section 54954.3, Section A. The board will provide an opportunity for members of the public to directly address the legislative body concerning any item that has been described in the notice for the meeting before or during consideration of that item. Each person wishing to address an item on the meeting notice in closed session will have 2 minutes to do so.
There are no speakers.
Okay, so there's no communication. I will recess the meeting for the consideration of the following closed session items as posted on the meeting notice. 1, student expulsions, suspended expulsions, reinstatements. Education Code Section 48916-48918, students identified by case and ID number. 2, public employee evaluation, appointment transfer, Government Code Section 54957. 3, public employee discipline dismissal, release, Government Code Section 54957. 4, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, paragraph 1 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. 5, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, paragraph 2 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. 6, conference with labor negotiator, Government Code Section 54957.6. We will adjourn to closed session. This time, I would like to reconvene the regular board meeting. Clerk of the board, please call roll.
Arencibia?
Present.
Emerald? Here. Lopez?
Here.
Lopez Veda?
Here.
Solis?
Present.
Aguirre?
Present.
Flores?
Here.
We will now hold a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance led by our Student Board Representative, Ms. Flores. Thank you, Ms. Flores. The board met in closed session preceding this meeting to discuss the following issues. 1, student expulsions, suspended expulsions, reinstatements, Education Code Section 48916-48918, students identified by case and ID number. 2, public employee evaluation, appointment transfer, Government Code Section 54957. 3, public employee discipline dismissal release, Government Code Section 54957. 4, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, paragraph 1 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. 5, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, paragraph 2 of subdivision D of Government Code Section 54956.9. And conference with labor negotiator, Government Code Section 54957.6. The board took the following action. Moved by Arencibia, seconded by Emerald, to approve the reinstatement of 1 student with the vote of Arencibia, yes, Emerald, yes, Lopez, Cepeda, yes, Solis, yes. Moved by Emerald, seconded by Lopez Cepeda, to approve the reinstatement of 1 student with the vote of Arencibia, yes, Emerald, yes, Lopez, Cepeda, yes, Solis, yes. Moved by Lopez, seconded by Arencibia, to approve the appointment of Luis Rodriguez as principal, National City Middle School, with the vote of Arencibia, yes, Emerald, yes, Lopez, Cepeda, yes, Solis, yes. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda for the June 8th, 2026 regular board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second.
Flores?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Emerald? Yes. Lopez?
Yes.
Lopez Veda?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
We will not have a message from our superintendent, Dr. Moises Aguirre.
Thank you, President Solis. Good evening and buenas tardes. Welcome and bienvenidos to our June 8th, 2026 meeting of the Board of Education. And if you hear my voice being a little bit more hoarse, then it was probably due to last week's graduations and promotions. And I apologize ahead of time. First and foremost, I'd like to congratulate all of our students who graduated or promoted last week. Congratulations to the class of 2026. You did it. We are certain you will make us all proud, and I want to take a moment to celebrate all the graduates and promoting students. So, this time of year is a great reminder of the reason why those of us who work in education do what we do. We do this to shape all of these young men and women in our community so they can go off and pursue their goals and their dreams. Thank you, graduates, for reminding us, those of us who work in education, why we do what we do and for inspiring us day in and day out. Now for the updates since our last board meeting. These are some of the events that have been happening. Note, it's not a complete list, it is only a sampling since there's a lot going on out there. I did have an opportunity to attend the Filipino Culture Night at Olympian High School, as well as an opening of a new space for one of our partners, Wishwell. We want to make sure we congratulate all of them for their new space where they can serve more students and families. I had an opportunity to attend a biliteracy graduation recognition program at Southwest High School. And also, more importantly, I had an opportunity to attend a significant number of promotions and graduations. And I also want to, on this opportunity, extend my gratitude to our trustees and to our cabinet, as well as directors. Thank you for all that you do in ensuring that every single promotion and graduation had our board or district leadership present to represent and accept the graduating and promoting classes. I really sends a note and a message of commitment that we have with our students and with our staff, that we are there with them to celebrate with our students. So thank you, trustees. Thank you to our cabinet members and everybody who was there. Thank you. For those students going to summer school, hey, it started today, so I hope you have a great experience this summer. For everybody else who's not going to summer school, I hope there's ample time to rest, recover, and refill your cup with whatever it may be that does that for you. And be ready for the beginning of the 2026-27 school year. And gracias por la oportunidad de servir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aguirre. And now we'll have a message from Ms. Elizabeth Flores, our Student Board Representative.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This past year, I've had the privilege of serving as the student board member for our very own Sweetwater Union High School District, and I think it is safe to say that this experience has completely changed my life for the better. I've always considered myself an advocate, but I never knew how much advocacy was possible through the very thing that shapes our youth, the education system. Being a student board member has not only allowed me to understand why and how education policy works, but it has allowed me to bring in the perspectives of the ones that are affected the most by it, the students. I believe that all voices, regardless of background, identity, or any other factors, deserve the opportunity to be heard and understood. Being a student representative has allowed me to present real issues that affect student life on SUHSD campuses to the board, but most importantly, find real solutions to these issues. The youth that are currently in our school systems will be the future world leaders, politicians, policymakers, and members of society. If we want to contribute to a better tomorrow, we must start now by ensuring that those future leaders receive the best education and upbringing possible. I am proud to say that I am surrounded by so many of my peers that refuse to stay silent, that stand up for what they believe in, no matter what the situation may be, and that is what my inspiration is. I want to use my voice to encourage others to do the same. In an age of so much uncertainty and injustice, it is more important than ever that we stand up for what is right and we continue to advocate for our underrepresented communities. I am so proud and beyond grateful to continue and expand my work by representing the over 6 million student voices in California on the California State Board of Education, a role that I could have never been appointed to if it wasn't for the Sweetwater Union High School District. Before I end off, I wanted to express my deepest gratitude, and also this is my last board meeting, that's why I'm going over all of this. To all the educators in and outside of this room, I want you to know just how important your role is in the lives of your students. I need more than both of my hands to count just how many teachers, administrators, and counselors I've had that have left an impact on me and that have shaped me into the person I am today. I know being an educator can sometimes be a thankless job, but it is an essential one, and your work is truly contributing to the betterment of our future. To my fellow students, thank you for trusting me to represent you, your voices, and your needs. I'd also like to give a special thank you to all of my fellow board members and, of course, Dr. Aguirre, who have supported me this entire year. I want to thank Ms. Christina Fox and Dr. Moore, both who I have worked very closely with, and Ms. Fox, who has guided me entirely through the world of being a student board member. I want to thank all of our SUHSD staff and everyone in this room today, including Ms. Vicedo and our photographer, Mr. Omar, and all of you that have so greatly contributed to the success of this district. I'd also like to thank ORHS Principal, Mr. Julio Alcala, and my ASB Assistant Principal and Advisors, Mr. Manuel Tapia and Ms. Nicole Carnes, who, if it wasn't for them, I would have never submitted my application to be a student representative. Lastly, and most notably, I want to thank my family, especially my mom and my sister, who have always been my #1 supporters. They've not only attended every board meeting, but they are both truly the reason I am the person I am today, and why I care so deeply about helping others. Finally, I'll leave you all with this. Education is the key to the future that we want to see. A future where no one person or community is at a disadvantage, a future where kindness, compassion, and justice is more evident than ever, and a future where everyone has equal opportunity to succeed in whatever way they wish. Being a leader goes beyond holding titles. It is about understanding the needs of your people and ultimately contributing to meaningful change, no matter how big or small it may seem. I know that this district will continue to address the needs of its students and hopefully continue to remember just how important it is to include us students in those big conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flores. I thought we had you for one more meeting. So, because we're
Yeah, one more.
because we're
She's already going on vacation.
just
Yeah,
If-
sorry. I started last year on the 22nd, I think, so I thought it would be the same this year, but, well, it's okay.
yeah, if
You can do it. You get to do it all over again.
just we don't have the stuff we were gonna give you yet. That's I was like, oh.
You have to come back so you can recognize it. Thank you.
Sorry. I apologize. We will now go to D1, conduct a public hearing and first reading to gather community feedback for the proposed 2026-2027 Local Accountability Plan, LCAP. Dr. Aguirre?
Thank you, President Solis. For this item, I will ask Dr. Ana Maria Alvarez to introduce and present our initial presentation, first read of the Local Control Accountability Plan. Dr. Alvarez?
Good afternoon, Dr. Aguirre, Board President Solis, board members in our community. Thank you for being here. I too am a little bit under the weather, so please forgive me if my voice cracks. I'm not going through puberty again, but we'll keep on moving forward. I may be aging backwards, who knows? So with the Local Control Accountability Plan, each year as a district, we present it to our community. We bring it to various stakeholders, and this is through a process of stakeholder feedback. And the California Education Code provides for us that by July 1st, in conjunction with the general budget, we present what we're going to do with the additional funds that we receive through the Local Control Accountability Plan. This is where we are in a 3-year process. This plan is the last year of a 3-year plan. So 2 years ago, we went through very in-depth overview of our previous plan. We analyzed goals, looked at our priorities, and did all the stakeholder input. And we've done that each year since. We also did the same process this year, but just making sure that we're meeting our supports that we say that we're providing for our students. We look at the metrics, and then we identify if there are any changes within that plan. There are a few changes that we'll go over so that you see those elements. For the most part, most of our goals and actions as services have remained the same. So these are the requirements that are held within each of the LCAPs. There's a parent budget overview that just gives you a totality of what the general budget is, and then those that are covered under the LCAP for the supplemental and concentration grant monies. Gives you a plan summary. We talk about how we've engaged our partners. We have our goals and actions, our metrics, and then those actions and services that we have for foster youth, low-income students, and English learners. And then we have action tables, and then there's instructions that we as a district have to follow. So all those LCAP requirements are in our plan. We have done already what's called the Fast Pass through the county. We submitted our LCAP in early May. The county reviewed our LCAP, gave us feedback, and based on that, we made changes. They were very nominal changes, but we made the changes based on their recommendations. And so at this time, we have a pretty solid LCAP that, based on the feedback today, we may do a little bit of revision, but we'll bring that back on January 22nd for a final review and approval by the board. So these are the engaging our educational partners, the events that we've done, how we continue to provide an opportunity for our community, our students, our staff to provide feedback to us. We do this on a monthly basis in terms of trying to get this cyclical feedback from our school sites. So that includes surveys, staff and students, community, parents. We also have parent advisory committees that we meet with on a monthly basis. That includes our DLAC and our DPAC. And so at each of those meetings, we go over goals. We'll attack, for example, goal 1, which is really focusing on teaching and learning. They'll give us our feedback. We go back and look at how do we improve some of those actions and services, and that iteration goes on throughout the school year. We also do empathy interviews with our students and our teachers and our faculty to ensure that we're getting adequate and accurate feedback from them, and then, of course, from our staff members. Our cabinet on a monthly basis also talks about the LCAP and what we're doing and how are those actions and services are being measured and what are those metrics and what are those outcomes and how we continue to support our students. And then we have 2 additional goals that have come about because of the equity multiplier, and Alta Vista Academy and Palomar are under those. I'll let you know a little bit about those when we get to those goals, but that adds a little bit additional element to the LCAP itself as well. So as we mentioned, we're always looking at our goals, the state priorities. We're looking at why do we select our goals, and what data is being used, and then those actions and services to get there, and then the analysis, how were those goals carried out. So our LCAP is pretty robust. It's over 200 pages, but we also have a very significant population of students, and we serve a large community. So those actions and services really are to try to improve the lives of our students. And so you'll see in the LCAP itself, there's an analysis of each action and services that we have. For example, in Goal 1, there's over 37 of them. And so we go into detail on each one of those on how we're measured at each site, at the site level, at the student level, and then at our groups level as well. So we'll look at English learners, we'll look at students with disabilities to see how they're functioning within these actions and services and whether those are making an impact positively on them or not. So here are our 6 goals, and I said that we had 2 extra with the equity multiplier. Last year, the state added a goal where if you had any learning recovery grant monies left over, you also had to include them in the LCAP. Most districts just embedded them in the LCAP, but because we were going through a transition of state and federal directors and some other departments, we wanted to ensure that we were very explicit about the learning recovery block grant monies and where they were so that we could keep track and make sure that it was very open and transparent for our public. So we have a goal 6 on that. Goals 1 through 4 are goals that we have had in this district since 2014. We've modified them a little bit in terms of the actions and services, but the overarching goals remain the same. So as I mentioned before, Goal 1 is focused on teaching and learning. How do we help support students succeed academically and in their career or academic pathways? Goal 2 is that healthy, safe learning environment. Goal 3 is about the parent community engagement components of it. And then Goal 4 is a systems-oriented goal where you're looking at all those systems of support that really maintain the district moving fiscally forward and making sure that we have all the elements needed at school sites, at district level offices to ensure that we can support the other 3 goals. This just kind of gives you an overview, and Dr. Salkeld today will be talking about the general budget. Our supplemental and concentration monies for next year equate about $64 million, and so that will be represented in the totality of the plan. Just as a note, that number is based on the number of students that we have enrolled in the district and the number of students that qualify for supplemental services. Once again, low income, foster youth, homeless, and then low-income students. So as that number is finalized, at some points in time, we've had reductions in that total funding. So case in point, this year we received some reductions and we had to make some adjustments. So although this is a plan that's going forward, there's always some movement because of the ADA or the enrollment numbers. So just as a note. And then this just shows you the total general fund expenditures expected for the 25-26 plan. And once again, Dr. Salkeld in her presentation will provide a little bit more specific numbers. For Goal 1, we have pretty much maintained most of our actions and services. We are, because of declining enrollment, we do have less funding in our LCAP, and so there are a few items that have been reduced. But once again, we've looked at academic achievement, our college and career readiness aspects, how we are closing the gap instructionally for our students, how we help them. And so some of the metrics that we've utilized with this are looking at our A through G completion rates, and those are the rates that we use to see how many students are eligible to enter a 4-year university. We look at our graduation rates, also the Smarter Balance Assessment performance in English language arts and mathematics. We look at our English learner progress. Each year, our English learners are measured on their progress from year to year, and so we look at that. And we also analyze our advanced placement pass rates, and then our CTE pathway completion, because that helps with part of the college readiness aspect and career readiness. We have continued the action steps that are listed there. So some of the major action steps is that we look at class size reduction in terms of how we fund schools, our counselor caseload reduction from going from 400 students to 300 to 60 to 1. We also look at how we lower our class size for some of our neediest students, our students who are learning English, our bilingual classes, and then for those students that could be first generation college going students for AVID. We've built some of our pathways in terms of CTE, our career technical education, with supports through the LCAP, as well as AVID, International Baccalaureate, our foreign language and global studies program, and our School of Performing Arts. We've sponsored learning, recovery, and acceleration coaches at every high school. That way students can make up credits during the school day instead of having to go outside of the school day to do that. And then one of the largest funding sources that we had in the past was for Hey Tutor, which was in-class push-in supports for students. That has been reduced somewhat because, once again, the LCAP has been reduced because of declining enrollment, but we are looking at how do we apply those in the most strategic manner for the neediest kids. And then CARPE is a partnership that we have engaged with the High Tech High Graduate School of Education in looking at supporting school sites to create teams to ensure students have access to a college-going environment and supports. And then some of those other activities such as STEAM, making sure that we have summer school counseling support. We have included some modifications. Teachers on special assignment have been reduced somewhat to make sure that we're able to meet the requirements within being fiscally sound within the LCAP. We've also reduced one of our counselors on special assignment, and those areas are being supported by teaching and learning, as well as we have included an instruction and engagement teacher on special assignment. For goal 2, that's that healthy environment. We continue to focus on this with our student well-being, our culture of equity, positive school climate, and then our metrics have been really focused on chronic absenteeism and how do we reduce that, lowering suspension rates, dropout rates, expulsion rates, and then we really analyze the data from the California Healthy Kids surveys and other surveys that we use district-wide. Part of the MTSS, or multi-tiered systems of support, has also been generated through this. So these are some of the continued action steps that we continue to offer. Our assistant principals will note that there has been a reduction, once again, because of declining enrollment at some of our smaller school sites, of a reduction of 1 assistant principal. And so that's occurred at our smaller school sites. We still support our homeless and foster youth. We have our student support services and mental health supports. And then all those areas that focus on healthy relationships, student connection, as well as our nurses and some campus beautification items that we have for each school site. Goal 3, parent engagement, as I mentioned, and it's parent, guardian, and community engagement. We have a TOSA that helps support that. We continue to support our advisory committees, and then increasing really how families are able to access information and communication. And then these are some of the metrics that we utilize. Once again, the parent surveys, workshop and meeting participation, and then the types of social media platforms that we utilize and how those messages are being received by families and community members. And we continue to offer some of these continued steps. And the additional one is that we are offering a parent leadership training through San Diego State, UCSD, and the San Diego County Office of Ed. We have also continued to partner with Wishwell to have parent engagement activities at all of our sites for next year. And so that will provide additional opportunities for families to engage with school personnel and also with their students as well. And then the last one of the 4 major goals is the transparent system, and that's where we align all of our operational departments across the district: human resources, fiscal, facilities, information technology, legal, And it's making sure that we're in compliance and that we have all of our internal and external audits are meeting the requirements, that our facilities are up to par when we're looking at Williams, and then our survey results and our business process that we continue to review internally to ensure that we're in alignment. So these will continue. The reason professional development for classified personnel is highlighted, there was a little bit of decrease in expenditures for that, or in allocations for that, but I think there's other ways that we can provide that through some other funding. But everything else pretty much remains the same. And then, as I mentioned, we have within LCAP Goal 5, because of the equity multiplier, Alta Vista and Palomar are in here. Both of them were in originally because of attendance and academic progress, so they are going to continue their plan. They have to conduct a needs assessment and a site assessment in order to continue the plan. And so they have looked at how do they offer English language arts, math, and prep for success supports at the site for Palomar. College tutors, they're still wanting to see if they could further engage with Hey Tutor as well. And then professional development for their teachers, as well as increased CTE pathways. We opened up a CTE program that offers kind of a survey course for them last year, and that seems to be very successful, so we're continuing with that. With Alta Vista, it really is, once again, that attendance, trying to meet students where they are. What are those needs? Why are they not coming to school? What's impeding their behavior, et cetera? And so they continue to work on that. They're also working with supplemental literacy resources, as well as that teacher professional development that will continue. And then for Goal 6, this is the one with the Learning Recovery Block Grant. We have focused on really looking at that learning loss. This is actually as a byproduct of from the state funding as a result of the pandemic, where there was some learning loss. We're still looking at some of those key metrics I mentioned before, the chronic absenteeism, graduation rates, school climate, suspension, and then performance academically. And so we continue to monitor that. We have our professional development and coaching is provided through this. We have expanded our international baccalaureate. We feel that that's one way to engage students. And so as Castle Park High School and Bonita Vista High School have international baccalaureate programs, we have started the middle year programs for our middle schools. And those are going really well. They're starting to expand for next year. And so we're very excited about that, as well as continued support for mental health and counseling across the district. Our supplementary curriculum and supplies, and then those types of supports that are needed for each of the schools. What we did change this year is that the two-based site coordinator, and as I mentioned, the assistant principals, these are the schools that have been impacted. So the process is we do this first read. There's an opportunity to give feedback. We will bring back any changes to the June 22nd board meeting. After that, it is sent to the county for final approval. By October 8th, the county needs to provide final approval, and we will have a finalized LCAP for our district.
Thank you, Dr. Alvarez.
Wait, I have a question.
I will now open, I have to open the public. I will now open the public hearing. Are there any speakers?
There are no speakers? No, just for this public hearing on the LCAP.
The public hearing is now closed. Ms.
Okay. Dr. Alvarez, thank you for a very nice, concise LCAP presentation. But my question is, with our community schools that we have in place, are there any crossovers for expenditures or programs, services that are to be provided?
That's a great question. So what we encourage all schools with their general fund, with their LCAP, with their Title I monies, and now with community schools, is really to braid their funding so they get maximum efficiency and maximize those resources. And so, for example, one of the elements is, Hey Tutor, we have a foundational amount that we are sponsoring through the LCAP, but through community schools and Title I, schools can supplement that.
Okay.
And so that's happening in several areas where they're getting additional resources based on site assessment of their needs, and then they supplement that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez Cepeda. Great question. Any other questions? Ms. Emerald?
Yes, thank you very much. I've got a couple of questions, actually. The equity multiplier, could you explain that in common language
Yeah,
so
the-
any of us can understand it?
Sure. Yeah, and that one's a fairly recent one that we've had. So what it means is that schools that fall within a certain percentage of mobility rate, where they have high rates of students coming and going from schools, they get additional funding. Because what they have seen with that is, with that high mobility, there's a decrease in academic achievement. And so there seems to be more support needed. And so these two schools have very high mobility rates, where students are constantly coming in and out, and so they don't finish there. They are trying to provide and push in as many supports as possible, so the time the student is there, they're maximizing those resources and supports for kids.
And specifically, what schools are those?
Those are for Alta Vista Academy and Palomar High School.
Okay. My next question, you talk about completion rates, A through G.
Yes.
Completion, what is that?
So the A
Where's
through
that
G
G?
is for the University of California and the California State University system. A through G is a list of courses that students must complete. They must earn a C or better in those courses in order to be academically eligible for matriculating into a university. And so it's a course of study. For example, 4 years of English is required, 3 years of mathematics, 2 years of lab science, et cetera. So there's a list of all those courses, and academically, we track that information within the district, also within our transcripts. Our transcripts for students also let students know where they are and what they've completed in those areas. So as they're meeting with their counselors, they're having those conversations. And in order to be A through G eligible, students also have to pass those courses with a C or better.
Okay. And the G stands for again?
It's literally section A, B, C, D, they're courses.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're just confusing me here.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to make
okay.
it as clear as possible for you.
Counselor caseload reductions, how do we go about reducing that caseload so that counselors have the time they need to work effectively with kids who are maybe struggling, and getting more kids through the process too?
Yeah, so the original counselor allocation was one counselor for every 400 students. With the LCAP supplemental, that's reduced to one counselor for every 360 students.
Well, you wonder, where is the advantage here when these numbers are just so, out of, I think, the possibilities for any counselor to be able to handle this many kids, or the kids to be able to get what they need out of the process. Is there any way of reducing those caseloads, or are we just kind of stuck in
I
this
think that's something
realm?
as a district we would need to discuss.
I think we ought to at some point there, yeah. Just a couple of more questions. Parent education workshops and the advisory committees, there's actually leadership training going on for the parents?
There is. We've done Parent University for the parents in the past. We've also done PIQE, which is Parent Institute for Quality Education. There's been several different types of training that's been done across the board. We also partner with Southwestern College and do parent educational courses, such as English for non-English speakers, computers, technology supports. So there are different courses offered throughout the year.
That's terrific. And leadership training, is that also part of what you're doing in working with parents in the community?
So as we support DLAC and DPAC, our two parent advisory committees at the district level, there is ongoing leadership training through that. So we bring in some of our team members, we bring outside team members, we partner with San Diego County offices as well as UC, San Diego, and San Diego State for for that leadership training.
And how do you recruit these members of the community, or at least inform them about this opportunity to get the training?
So we start at the school sites. School sites start with their ELAC, their English Learner Advisory Committee,
Gotcha.
and also with their school site council. So usually at the beginning of the year, there's an opportunity through open house, through the messaging. They send out information for each school site to become representatives for those, so they can be site representatives, and then some of those representatives become district representatives.
Gotcha.
And so they're able to afford that, and then we send out that information through our communications.
You talked about Hey Tutor and the CTE survey course. Have you got information, new data in about the Hey Tutor program, how successful it is, or
So we are
the
meeting,
outreach that
we
needs
are
to be
meeting
done?
with Hey Tutor at the end, actually in a couple days, on the 11th, I believe, to finalize that data. And then with the CTE survey course, that's specifically to Palomar, and we're going to be looking at their completion rates and seeing how many of the students finished the modules for each of those.
Great.
But anecdotally and qualitatively, they've all said that it's been very positive for their students. They feel more engaged. They're getting courses that they would normally not get at the school site. They now are able to, if they're interested, let's say in cosmetology, that's one of the courses they could look at.
Sure.
So there's different opportunities.
And I know we have a lot of CTE programs here in the district, but you keep looking at that and seeing how you can improve on the programs or do greater outreach to bring more students into the programs.
Correct.
Okay. And then the addressing the learning loss and social emotional well-being of students and staff caused by the COVID pandemic. It seems like so long ago, but what are our challenges still to this day with regard to those who've come through and had some trauma around it?
Yeah, I think there's the social emotional components of the trauma, but then there's also the academic components of that. Some of our students were in the process of learning to read, to engage in mathematics, and they were doing that at home with minimal time. They didn't have the 6 hours and 35 minutes a day for an entire year. And so there's a lot of areas where we've had to do some accelerated supports for students to engage them both either in the literacy or the numeracy in order to get them back up to grade level. I think the other aspect that we see is still attendance. Attendance is not back to pre-pandemic levels. Our attendance rates in this district were exceptionally high. We were at 98% at middle schools and about 94% at high schools. We're not there.
Where are we now?
We're lower. Our ADA hovers around 92%, so it's still lower than where we've been. And so even though we try to do some recovery through Saturday school and those elements, I think there are some things that still impact us because of COVID.
The more effort we put into this, the greater, hopefully, the attendance will be and the greater return we're going to see. So are you doing things individually or some
Yeah, so
basics?
definitely, I think, as we develop the school site plans, which were also on the agenda today, you'll see some needs assessments specifically to school sites in looking at how they've targeted specific areas. For example, Castle Park High School, in terms of math, they have almost doubled their math proficiency because they've been very targeted on how they've been serving students. So using the Hey Tutors, they picked priority classrooms so that they would work with specific individuals and specific teachers to accelerate that growth. And so I think school sites, through the work that we've been doing with research and evaluation, state and federal, and teaching and learning, and special services, it's really been to really just move that needle forward so we start seeing some of the achievement results.
Well, thank you for all your hard work on this, and look forward to reports going forward. And I thank you for the rest of the board offering some indulgence with my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Emerald. Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, now we'll move on to D2, conduct a public hearing and first read to gather community feedback on the Sweetwater Union High School District's preliminary 2026-2027 proposed budget. Dr. Aguirre?
All right, thank you, President Solis. For this item, I'll ask Dr. Sockel to lead our presentation. To share some preliminary comments. I think the word that comes to mind is crosswinds. We're moving where there's a lot of kind of turbulence, and we're in a solid place, but we need to make sure we're starting to prepare for the coming acceleration, if you will, of declining enrollment that we've seen over the last couple of years, and then having continued to be a pattern is going to be the challenge, I think, that we have in front of us. From a system perspective, obviously you want to make sure we align the resources to what Dr. Alvarez just presented for the academic program, but this in and of itself is the standalone budget presentation by Dr. Salkeld. So with that, Dr. Salkeld, your floor.
Thank you, Dr. Aguirre, and good evening, President Solis, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Aguirre, Cabinet, and Community. So we're going to be reviewing the 26-27 budget proposal, or bringing here forward to the board, because it is complementary to what Dr. Alvarez just presented with the LCAP. The education code is set up in the manner that the LCAP is presented first, and then the budget. This is the LCAP provides the roadmap. And so what I'm going to highlight here, we do have some updated variables because the governor did release the May revision on May 14th. And the next few slides that I'll be highlighting indicate some of those proposals or those investments as what we're seeing from the governor's proposal here, that there are increases in personal income tax. So you can see a couple of the themes. That was the takeaway from what he presented a few weeks ago. And with that, we did discuss this with the County Office of Education last week. Their guidance indicated for us to be cautious with some of these proposals and not factor this into the budget plan because, again, they're proposals. And so the legislative work is occurring at the state level until then a final adopted budget or approved budget is sent to the governor for approval. And so one of those areas is the cost of living adjustment. What was recommended by the county is that we utilize the May revision statutory COLA of 2.87. And so just this slide here just highlights how things tend to move a little bit through our different reporting cycles. So where you can see a year ago, we were at 3.02% as our variable here for cost of living adjustment, and now we're using 2.87. The governor's proposal is stipulating a COLA of 4.31. So certainly if that does pass in the upcoming weeks, that would bring forward to the board around what we're estimating possibly $6 million. And you'll see how that'll be important when we look at our multi-year projection. Again, that's not factored in this proposal that we're bringing forward to you as a first read because we need to see where things fall out. The next proposal, the governor has made a commitment to special education and has increased considerably since his January proposal. He's now at about $2.3 billion investment. Again, this could change given the legislative process, but this could be a considerable amount too for the district, depending on where this also gets finalized. Any of these changes, once the governor's budget is approved, we would be bringing that forward to the board in August, known as just the adjustments. We'll have that final data to bring for you to see what those changes would be. The other proposed investment that the governor highlighted during the May revise is continued investment to the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant. It's noted there about $228 per ADA. So that could be around possibly $7 million for the district. Again, it's a restricted resource, complements to what Dr. Alvarez was highlighting earlier on that particular goal under the LCAP plan and the specific focus areas for those funds. The other proposal that the governor has included in the May revise is another student support block grant. Gives a little bit of flexibility. You can see the areas of where it can be used. Again, this is discretionary. Current School Services of California is estimating about $936.98 per ADA. Again, we'll need to see where that falls out with the final adopted budget. Again, any of these parameters are not factored into what we're bringing forward to the board. And so with that said, I'm going to highlight what Dr. Aguirre mentioned. Enrollment is critical. As you can see, we bring this slide during each of our reporting cycles so you can see the change over the last few years. So about over 10 years ago, the district was about 40,000 students. So you can see the proposed enrollment for next year, for 26-27, we're at a little over 33,000. So we've seen a decline, considerable decline over the last few years, but right now our projections are kind of showing a little bit some stability. But this is going to be something we need to monitor very closely when school starts in a month from now, right? So we start to evaluate that at the end of July to see how close those numbers remain to that projection. But again, you can still see the out years that continue to decline. And that's going to tie here when I share the multi-year projection, what it means to our reserves. And I think to Trustee Emerald's point earlier too, as you can see here, the district's average daily attendance, this is one of our key assumptions that goes into our local control funding formula, is around 92%, as Dr. Alvarez mentioned. Prior years, prior to COVID, that number was about 94%. So we have not seen that rebound over the last few years. So it's been staying at 92%. So we're going to continue with that projection into the out years. The other point to note here, as Dr. Alvarez had mentioned, our unduplicated percentage, which is what factors into the LCAP plan amount, she highlighted about $64 million. You can see that that number is also decreasing. We were much higher numbers. We were at like 63% a couple years ago. We're now seeing that decline 61 and 60. So that means less money as well. Less resources under the LCAP. Just jump, again, those are some key variables that we have there. And so I'm just going to go to our multi-year projection. So a couple of things to note here. I'm just going to go to my slide. So with the local control accountability plan, so what you see is a considerable deficit for this current year. So when we anticipate, when we close the books, right now with the LCAP, we're anticipating about $42 million, and that's one of the footnotes there, that is not going to be spent by the end of June 30th. So our intent is to spend that $60-some million by the end of the year. When it's not, it's set up as a carryover, so we have to spend it with the intent, again, for next year. So that's why you kind of see that slight deficit, and it's only 1 year. It's not ongoing years, because we always anticipate to spend those dollars. So that's why it's a little bit different there. But one thing to know, the district's structural deficit is hovering around 60 million, almost close in this particular year, 26-27. And as you can see in the out years, it's 67 million and 73 million. So as we've,
Dr. Saka, what row should we be looking at when you
so
say that?
that is at row 8. Okay. It's right down in the middle, yeah. I think you're hovering over with your cursor. And so that's important, as we've shared in other reporting cycles. We've set aside that declining enrollment reserve for that purpose to cover, again, all those different variables, with declining enrollment, with less revenues coming there, with some cost pressures, some other items. You're seeing that was set aside to help cover that. So that's one consideration. The other consideration you're going to see in the 28-29 year, which is row 18. Going back to our enrollment and our average daily attendance, that's our projection right now, is that the district's going to fall below the 30,000 threshold, which would keep the district at a 2% economic uncertainty. We're anticipating that in that particular year, it's going to go up to 3%. So you can see that difference. The other thing to note in 28-29, because right now the objective for the board in your action on the 22nd is to approve a balanced budget for 26-27, which is accomplished by using the reserves. But just to kind of foreshadow things a little bit, when we come back in December for first interim, the board has to certify making all the financial obligations for the next 3 years. So we have some time, and we'll see how things play out with the governor's budget. But what we're highlighting here is in 28-29, the district has spent those reserves, and to meet those economic uncertainties and the other requirements, the district's going to need about $22 million. So the district is it's structurally imbalanced at that point, with none of the reserves to meet those requirements. So again, it's something to get ahead of. We've talked about continued solutions with our attrition model, with staffing, and a few other considerations, but just putting that to look ahead.
And Dr. Sokol, if I may, I want to be really clear with what the task ahead of us is going to be. The task ahead of us is going to be one of austerity. So while we would love to lower counselor ratios, we will not be able to. While we would love to offer more supports and services, we will not be able to. The challenge before us is how to manage this decline in enrollment that at the end of the day, we have no control over. It's something that's happening to us. I think on our part, based on the numbers that Dr. Sokeld is presenting, our task is going to be how do we manage this in a way that causes the least amount of disruption for the educational process. And that's not going to be an easy process. I want to be really transparent. Our systems and our economic models based on capitalism always assume that there will be growth and that there will be more. That model has been turned on its head. And the reason for that is what's happening with declining enrollment, but there's a lot of variables that go into that. The fact that it's expensive to own a home, so if you have family, odds are it's difficult to own a home in San Diego County. Our immigration levels have been extremely reduced, if not eliminated, from what they were in the past. So all these variables are happening to us, and we're in a place where we're having to put together a response, and we don't control all the things that are happening to us. It is incumbent on us to put together responsible approaches to addressing this decline in enrollment, because as you saw earlier, we had approximately 876 less students. It's almost 1,000 students less this year than we had last year. And before that, we experienced losses in 4s and 500s and 600s. The worst year was during the pandemic, where it was almost 1,500 students. So there has not been one year since 2015 where we had more students. And that is our model. That is how we're funded. I just wanted to pause, Dr. Sokol, and pardon the interruption, but I think that's a really salient point, that we're going to all have to work together with all of our associations, all of our stakeholders, to build that understanding, because as I talk to people in the community, I find there's not an understanding of what declining enrollment means. It's kind of an alien concept to many people, that there's less kids. And so how do we build that understanding? How do we build that edification of understanding of there's actually less kids in our community? And it's not just here, but I was just at the weekend, I was at a Little League game, and we noticed how there's less teams. If you go to the local soccer, there's less youth teams. It's contracting, and so it's a really difficult and challenging conversation to have, but we want to do it in a way that's respectful and in a way that honors what everybody brings to the table. That's a very difficult thing, but as the data shows and the budget shows, contract we must. That is our challenge, and I believe we have the knowledge, we believe we have the know-how, and we have the time to be able to do it in a way that's responsible, but we're going to have to undertake that difficult challenge starting with the next fiscal year. I just wanted to share that. And Dr. Sokol, sorry about that.
No, appreciate that. So again, the next few weeks are going to be critical as we see what the governor, what his final budget is, because whatever comes from that will help significantly that 28, 29, but we'll see if it makes a significant impact. Okay. Then the other slide I wanted to highlight, because we get questions on the adult ed program. So here, as you see, we are anticipating about $7 million in projects. We adjust our estimated actuals because there are amounts that are going to get factored again into next year's proposed budget. There's about $4 million that's earmarked for a medical lab, an additional $2 million or so for supplies. And I believe on today's board agenda, there are a couple agenda items associated with some of those purchases. They're finalizing marquee project. There's a paint project that's also being finalized. So they've made some investments that's going to be applied towards that $7 million spend down. And then similar to the Fund 11, Fund 13, which is our cafeteria program, you see a footnote there. There's about $13 million that's earmarked with a plan that's been reviewed and approved by the CDE in terms of a multi-year spend down in various areas and investments that are going to be made within the program. So just wanted to highlight that as well. So with that, again, these are all our bond programs, things like we're, again, factoring where we're going to end the year and where the investments and where the projects are approved for next year. And then again, in terms of next steps, just monitoring the Senate and the Assembly and the work that they're going to do here over the next week, because they need to have a balanced budget by June 15th to present to the governor. And then the governor has 12 days after that to sign the budget into effect. It's just a unique timing because we're bringing to you a first read and then a second read, so all these moving pieces are going to be in the works. So we will provide an update to you in August, and then ultimately, those factors will be what's incorporated into the first interim. As I mentioned earlier, is when you will certify the district's financial position at that point.
I will now open the public hearing. Are there any speakers?
There are no speakers?
The public hearing is now closed. Any comments or questions from the board? Ms. Emmer?
Yeah, I'm just curious, what would it take to turn this around, this financial situation we're looking at?
Dr. Sacco, what has been the enrollment decline since 2015? Is it about 7,000 students?
It's almost close,
Eight-
yeah, it's
close to
about
8,000?
40,000 to about 33, 32.
So I'm just gonna say about 7,000 students, which is where we used to have. As a matter of fact, if you look at our deficit and you look at how the funding we would have received had we not declined,
Yeah.
we would have been right around break even. So
Yeah.
You can see
declining enrollment.
we're at 40,000 in 2015, and now we're projecting going into next year, a little over 33.
Gotcha. So shy of some major promotional campaign, bringing people down here because our schools are great and life is so good, we're just going to have to be able to find ways of attracting students, perhaps who are in private education
And we
now.
can still do that, and that's why, as you may have mentioned by Dr. Alvarez, she mentioned the IB programs, and so that's one thing that we're trying to do to create that vertical alignment. That is something we're trying to do to make our system more appealing to parents. But at the end of the day, there are less students, because if you look to our north, at San Diego Unified, they have declining enrollment. If you look to our east at Grossmont, they have declining enrollment. If you look to our south in Baja California, they have declining enrollment. This really is a global phenomena that we're addressing. So our task is going to be both to continue to offer those quality programs, at the same time managing kind of to land the plane in a way that doesn't cause a lot of pain.
Was the kind of creative approach that we're going to have to take. Every school district probably in the country is trying to figure out how to send the message to the public that, hey, our schools are better than the ones over there. And the education is better. So I don't think that that's, out of bounds to go out there and promote ourselves. And the opportunities that we offer to kids and their families, and a quality education in general. So, yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Emerald. Dr. Arancibia?
I think it's, the managing part is the important thing. I don't think for a shift of this it's a fool's errand. I think we have to watch the numbers that are just coming in and see the patterns that are continuing on, because it's, that you pointed out, Arizona, the same thing's happening. In New York, the same thing's happening. In Minneapolis, the same thing is happening. Now, barring a whole shift in immigration policy, which I don't foresee in the future, even then it would not solve the problem. And I think the key point that you pointed out here in your statements, Dr. Aguirre, is that our economy is predicated on growth in every sector because of population growth, right? So if we don't have that, we have to have radical restructuring at the level of the economics of the state and in the economics of the country to be able to adjust to an economy that does not grow. And this is a perfect example of how we're going to have to move forward, and in terms of both management and actually seeing at the larger scale, the macro level, how we're going to be able to deal with this.
Yeah, and if I may, Dr. Arancibia, we're also at the tip of the spear. Yeah. If you see, we've been experiencing this for about 10 years, and you may be seeing more and more headlines about small and mid-sized universities now starting to fall to this phenomena. So again, we're kind of, for better or for worse, we're that canary in the coal mine. We're first in, and we're the first to experience this. But I think it also means that we have to be prepared to make those changes. It does not mean we sacrifice quality at the altar of managing this slow enrollment decline. We can continue to work on both, and those are not mutually exclusive. But we do need to take in mind kind of the greater forces that are affecting us.
Thank you. Yes, when I started CSBA, we had brought it up, that decline in enrollment, because we had 410 students less, and other districts were like, no, not really. But now TSBA is taking it on because they are also having that issue. So we started early. So yeah.
And if I may, I think this is an important matter, as you mentioned, not just for us at Sweetwater, but we've began having very preliminary conversations with leaders in Sacramento as well, because I think there's a beginning of an understanding that this is going to be a longer-term trend, and we're going to have to figure out how to restructure education in the state of California, at least the funding pieces of it. And so, for example, we have had preliminary conversations with Assemblymember Alvarez to make sure that there's an understanding of this phenomenon affecting us. And I think him and his team are beginning to grasp what that means. But it's much broader than that. As we know, come January, there will be a new administration in Sacramento. So it's going to be incumbent on us at the school districts to make sure we're helping inform them of this phenomenon that's coming our way, because it'll be impacting us one way or another, and we need to have the support, and we need to be out there being the chief advocates for our system, our district, our community, both in Sacramento and in Washington. For what it's worth, I do think we probably will have greater receptivity in Sacramento, but doesn't mean that we can't continue to advocate both in our state and our national capitals.
Thank you. No further questions or comments. We'll move on to D3. Conduct a public hearing and acknowledge and reserve Sweetwater Union High School District right to reopen articles with Sweetwater Education Association, CTA, NEA, SEA, the exclusive representative of the teacher bargaining unit. I will now open the public hearing. Are there any speakers?
There are no speakers?
Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Do I have a motion to approve board agenda item D3?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second.
Flores?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Emerald?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Lopez Vela?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
This is the point in the agenda where members of the public may address the board on any matter not on the agenda and have 3 minutes each to do so. Pursuant to board bylaw, the board may limit the time for public comment on any single topic to 20 minutes per topic. The Board of Trustees cannot legally take action on or respond to matters not posted on the public agenda, but will refer the matter to the superintendent's office for review and report. Speakers will speak in a respectful manner. Thank you for your cooperation.
First speaker is Kathleen Shears.
Carrying on the words of my grandmother, Annie, never leave a conversation unfinished. I'm following up on last month's comments. It's most important that you understand, that I understand. Your role as trustees is not to agree with me, but to simply hear me and consider my viewpoints. I do not claim to have the expertise of Ms. Quirk. I do, respectfully, however, have far more knowledge than those of you on the dais, with the exception of Dr. Aguirre when it comes to facilities. I have dissected, researched every project since 2008. I was blessed to have the mentoring of Nick Marinovich, San Diego City Hall project manager, Kevin O'Neill, locally acclaimed construction guru, Dave Butler, assessor for the city of San Diego, and several others throughout the state whose names I cannot share and who graciously share their expertise on issues I need help understanding. Please know my only intent is project quality and fiscal responsibility. While some may consider a few million as a drop in the bucket, please note that's a great deal of zeros to me and many taxpayers. Moving on. Another school year closing. Many thanks to our teachers, counselors, admin, support staff, custodians, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, gardeners, Ms. Vicedo, Ms. Estrada, all of you who sit on the side tables, those of you who sit at the back table, job well done. Hopefully all have drinks with pink umbrellas or shot glasses planned in the weeks ahead. You are indeed unsung heroes, all of you. Recently, I viewed a segment of college professors demanding a return of SAT exams, citing professors are now observing preparation gaps so severe, instructors must reteach middle school basics. My additional research found in some cases college classes are being broken into 3 groups: those ill-prepared, those somewhat prepared, and those few who are prepared. The few who are prepared, frustrated with the slow pace of instruction due to interruptions of students requiring further explanation. If possible, President Solis, I would be very interested in hearing Dr. Ancirbia's perspective on this issue. On a personal note, anyone who has had a face-to-face conversation with me undoubtedly noticed a scar on my face. While the second surgery saved me from a matching scar on the other side of my face, I am now facing surgery number 3. While I am long past the beauty days, the majority here are not. Sunscreen, sunscreen, sunscreen. And for those of you with black and brown skin, do not think it is a cancer that only affects old white women like me. It is a non-discriminatory disease, and you too must take preventative measures. Thank you very much, and go Knicks.
Matias Garcia. Thank you.
You have to show some of this stuff.
Here we go. Thank you.
All right. This goes to page 1. Excuse me, this goes to page 1. Let's start with a little history, and I'll get to the point in a moment. I'm going to talk about that first picture. That was, we're talking about Granger Junior High School, which was built in 1955. That racquetball court you see on that picture number 1 was built in around 1966. I was about 16 years old when that was built. It became a graffiti magnet. So, some of our, because of the slow response from the school and the city, my neighbors would clear that off. I even jumped the fence one time at midnight because I suspected after a long holiday there would be graffiti on the other side. So I got out there with a paint and painted that. So you see all those Italian cypress that are on there? I put those there. I planted them because the school didn't respond. And it permanently stopped the graffiti, okay? There's been no landscaping there, and wind blows from west to east and creates trash against that fence. So there has been little maintenance by the school on our street. Now, when I came here before, I mentioned to you that you have created a situation now with that old wall and your new gym that's being built now that creates 132 yards of wall on lots and street that had a view of all of San Diego. Now, that's a real problem. Now, I talked to a representative way before this was built, and I had my misgivings, but the cute little lady that I talked to, she assured me it would be roughly the same size as the current gym that's there. And I still didn't like it would be closer to the street, which would, of course, cut off more of the view. So on page 2, you'll see the old gym on the right and the new gym construction on the left. The new gym is 50% taller than the old gym, which will even represent a greater problem because even from my 6th story of my house, I can't look out. You cut off my view. So I think what we need to do here, what I'd like you to do is do the right thing. Remove the old racquetball courts. That should help a little mitigate the damage that you've already done to my neighborhood. Now, nobody likes to look at walls. They like to look out. Everybody here likes to look out and see things. Well, it's more than that. You've actually made my neighborhood less desirable. If I go to sell my house, it's going to take me longer, and I'm going to get less money for it when I go to sell it. So what I'm trying to tell you is, overall, Granger Junior High School and this district has not been kind to us on Van Ness Avenue. Okay?
Thank you.
No further speakers.
You have any questions?
We can't ask any questions, sir. Clerk of the board, will you please read the items being pulled from the consent agenda?
The following items are pulled: F3 by staff, F6 by the public, G13 by the public, K1 by the public, and O2 by staff.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second.
Flores?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Emerald? Yes. Lopez Cepeda? I'm
Yes.
sorry. Lopez?
Yes.
My bad, sorry. Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, F3. report on board requests for information and policy direction to staff and board communication. Anybody like to start us off? F3, no?
I'll start.
Ms. Lopez-Peda?
This past week has been the most rewarding because of the graduations and the happy faces from students, from parents, just the joy and the readiness that the kids are ready to go to the next step, start a new chapter in their lives. So far, I've gone to 10 graduations, so it's like, ooh, really emotional, and I've really, really enjoyed them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez-Peda. Anyone else? I just wanted to thank everybody, principals, staff, assistant principals, everybody, counselors, teachers, students, parents, for wonderful graduations. Those are always fun and exciting. I love shaking the students' hands and then calling them by their names, and they look at me surprised, but they don't realize that their name was just called. So they're like, how does he know me? And I was like, but it's always, it's fantastic. So thank you all for all that preparation. And for the teachers and APs that are on summer school duty, thank you for doing that, taking the time, counselors and everybody. My daughters had orientation today. They're going to be going to SUHI, my twins. And then, so I have three at SUHI next year. And then the 5-year-old, she's kindergarten. But just thank you for all that work that you guys put in there, because it's noticeable, and I know sometimes you don't hear it, but thank you. Thank you for all that. And finally, with regards to the food distribution, the necessity is real. I hadn't seen those lines so big since COVID. So thank you for putting that together and continue to do so, because it's real. It hit me pretty hard, because I was like, wow, a lot of people are feeling it. So thank you for providing that. Okay, F6, pulled by the public.
I have one speaker, Kathleen Shears.
Agenda items, specifically page 1 of 5, under agreement number 3. It states Sweetwater will compensate Capital Advisors Group LLC travel expenses. I take issue with the payment of travel expenses. I researched Capital Advisors Group, and they present as being a large company with an extensive portfolio. As such, any travel expenses they incurred could easily be written off as a tax deduction by their firm versus an additional fee charged to Sweetwater. And if anybody thinks they're only going up there for Sweetwater, they've got another thing coming. So are they charging every district that they're speaking about for travel expenses? Just a thought to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Aguirre?
Yeah, if I may, so just for clarification, this firm is based out of Sacramento. This is when they come to Sweetwater. They haven't been here, I want to say, at least for the last year, perhaps 2 years. So we have, that is only exercised when they come down. We could also do Zoom calls or phone call, or virtual calls. So we don't have a lot of opportunities for them to travel, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion
Second.
and a second.
Flores?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Emerald?
Yes.
Lopez? Lopez Veda?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
G13, approve memorandum of understanding between Sweetwater Union High School District and High Tech High Graduate School of Education.
I have one speaker, Yumi Saiki.
Good evening, trustees of the board and Dr. Aguirre. My name is Yumi Saiki. I'm the co-vice president and bargaining chair of SCGA. In April 2025, as part of the comprehensive tentative agreement between SCGA and the district, both parties agreed to have an open discussion regarding counselors' access to resource positions. That discussion took place in May of 2025 with district leadership. During that meeting, it was acknowledged that among existing resource positions, the CARPE role appeared to be the one most closely aligned with the work and expertise of school counselors. I also asked where this conversation should continue, given that counselors had raised this issue for several years. We are advised that the appropriate venue would be the Counselor Advisory Board. When the topic was raised at CAB in December of 2025, we were informed that the discussion was essentially a moot point because CARPE was no longer going to be funded. However, tonight, the board is considering a renewal of the CARPE MOU across 9 high schools. SCGA has tried to be proactive and respectful throughout this process. We raised the issue in bargaining, followed the directions we were given, and accepted the information that was provided. That is why it has been difficult to learn that the CARPE resource assignments for next year have already been advertised to and assigned to non-counselors. From our perspective, it feels as though a conversation we were told was no longer necessary moved forward without counselors having the opportunity to participate. I share this only because transparency and trust are important to maintaining productive relationships, a goal that I personally have consistently prioritized as part of SCGA leadership. I also want to remind the board that college applications and financial aid are core components of the counseling profession. This year provided a clear example of why counselor expertise matters. When hundreds of students were denied access to thousands of dollars each in Cal Grant awards, counselors were the ones who identified the problem, counselors were the ones who worked to remove the barriers and help students regain access to the critical financial aid that many of our students require to attend college. Counselors continue working with district leadership to ensure that similar issues do not affect students in the future. With the elimination, not reduction, but the elimination of the college and career counselor on special assignment position, a position that was not grant funded, the role of site-based counselors in supporting college and career readiness has become even more important. As the district invests $162,000 in expanding college access through CARPE, I respectfully ask district leadership to return to the conversation regarding counselor access to these resource opportunities. Our goal is simple: to ensure that the professionals whose training and daily responsibilities center on college and career planning have the opportunity to contribute fully to this work in the service of our students. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
And while we are, this is a time for us to be commenting on the speakers coming up. I would like to know more about what has happened this year. Is it different from previous years? And going forward, are there some changes that need to be made so that we don't lock out counselors and we can provide services to all of the students who come forward needing that service?
So I'll ask Dr. Alvarez to address this matter.
And you don't have to answer in depth, but I would like to get a full report so I better understand what's going on and can make informed decisions going forward. But go ahead.
Thank you. So CARPE, this is the 3rd year we will have CARPE. We have 2 schools that are no longer going to participate, and that is Otay Ranch and Eastlake. We had 1 school that was already not participating, that was Olympian. So we did reduce the level of the contract. CARPE is a network of school teams. Counselors are part of that team, but they are not the only people on those teams. So it is a network of teachers, other staff, counselors, and administrators that are in each of those site teams. And what they do is they push in supports in the classroom so that the work about college applications, FAFSA, enrollment, all those elements are not just up to one person to help support, but it becomes a team approach. I will give you one example, a brief example. Some universities require a student statement, letters of recommendation, et cetera. So schools are now creating teams within the instructional elements where they do those in the classroom as part of the instructional approach so that those elements are already completed and it doesn't happen to have to happen outside of our schools. With first-generation college students, some need more supports because they don't have those supports outside of the classroom or outside of the school day. And so with this team, it's looking at how do we systematically and systemically approach students. We do not necessarily have a district level CARPE position. We have some school sites that have created through Title I or other supplemental funding, a data coach, One of them has called them a CARPE resource teacher. And so they're positions based on what their duties are at the school site that will support that. But we can certainly continue the conversation.
I think that's important because isn't part of our goal here to give students a quality education and inspire them to go on to higher education? And if we're not offering counseling and avenues to help them prepare for college or fill out applications, then we're not quite meeting that goal, I would think. Just my thoughts.
And I think that's why the team approach helps that as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Entertain a motion.
So moved?
Have a
Second.
motion and a second.
Flores?
Yes.
Arencibia? Emerald?
Yes.
Lopez?
No.
Lopez Cepeda?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 no.
Okay, moving on to K1. Approve, ratify certificate of personnel actions processed by the Human Resource Service Division between the dates of May 1st, 2026 and May 31st, 2026.
I have one speaker, Kathleen Cheers.
Dr. Geary, I've been waiting a while to make this comment. I recognize it's a stretch, however, I'm confident you will recognize the relevancy. K1 and K2 decisions have great importance. I always arrive very early for board meetings. Last meeting, I met one of SUHI's finest, Ms. Susan Mateo. As we spoke, she shared she had worked with my daughter Kayla at SUHI. The next day, I mentioned it to Kayla, and Kayla responded with the following. Yes, she was on Dr. Gavin's SUHI team. Those days in working with that team were my best years. I am who I am today because of that foundation. Mateo is a dedicated hard worker who loves the students and what she does. You know, Mom, that entire team of Gavins has gone on to many leadership roles in the district. She then named the team. When Kayla received the offer to teach at SUHI, I was nervous. Truth be told, I secretly wanted her to go to a different district, one not plagued with my very recognizable last name. Though some still, when meeting her in person, question, is she or isn't she related to the Mrs. Cheers? Back then, Kayla often joked, when they find out, I can tell immediately by their faces whether they like you or dislike you. Immediately, I secretly, unbeknownst to Kayla, began the background check on Dr. Gavin. Everyone I spoke to said she is fair, but she's a stickler. She is by the book. It did not take long for Kayla to begin with the accolades. Dr. Gavin expects every I dotted and every T crossed. She accepts nothing less than your best, Kayla shared. Dr. Aguirre, in the past many years, I've often spoke of my displeasure in our hiring of outside so-called experts teaching leadership when Sweetwater has amongst their own the best of the best. Dr. Gavin represents those of whom I speak, an employee who takes great pride in mentoring those who come after. Hopefully this comment will cause pause in the district desire to look outside resources for learning leadership seminars. You have the best resources within the Sweetwater boundaries, no matter the major job objective. Those in a leadership position, whether it be a stellar SPEDS teacher, support staff, district office management, team member, or admin, surround yourself with the best. When promoting, hire based on quality. The best advice I ever received from a boss was this: Kathleen, surround yourself with the best. Don't be afraid to promote those who know more than you, because their work will inevitably make you and the organization shine. In closing, and on a personal note, get emotional here. Dr. Gavin, thank you for setting the bar for Kayla. She has gone on to get her doctorate and is an administrator in another district. Though her roots remain at Sweetwater, former student, student athlete, coach under Mr. Estrada, and SPED teacher. In her eyes, you are the creme de la creme. In closing, look, the mere decision to retire has made Dr. Winters look younger.
Thank you. All right. Entertain the motion? Have a motion
Second.
and a second.
Flores?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Emerald?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Lopez Cepeda?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, moving on to O2.
I will abstain.
Yeah, for this one, I'll ask Ms. Viceta to introduce.
I'm
the-
sorry.
The abstention
I was
for,
distracted, yes. We pulled this item so that Ms. Lopez Zepeda may abstain, if she so desires.
I abstain.
All right, questions or comments from the board? O2. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
You have a motion and a second.
Flores?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Emerald?
Yes.
Lopez?
Yes.
Lopez Zepeda abstains. Solis?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 abstention.
Wonderful. Thank you. With that, meeting adjourned.